Hey, Francis.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing all right.
Doing good.
All right. I feel like I never get this quite right for him because he's so much taller than me.
Oh.
Last time his head was cut off.
Was that Troy?
Yeah. All right. Hopefully that will work. Francis, do you know of anyone besides Brooke that was going to sign up for public comment?
No, no one else.
Okay.
We got some emails, but no one requested to speak.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here.
Hey.
Yeah, I see that all set up.
Yeah, I can just set up.
You need to, you get off mute.
Nope, it is off mute.
Oh, okay.
It is ready to go.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Hey, boy.
Hey, Francis, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
All right.
Good.
Yeah. You have a good holiday?
I did. I did. How about you?
Oh, pretty good. Oh,
Good.
yes.
Hello.
How's everybody doing?
Good. How are you?
Well, so far so good.
Good.
This weather makes me a little tired though.
I know.
Garrett,
Hey, Troy.
how you doing?
Doing well.
Hey, y'all.
Hey, Dan, how you doing?
Hey, Dan.
Good.
Hello. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, cool. How are you, Troy?
Pretty good. How you doing?
I'm good. Oh, shoot. Hold on just a second. Dun, dun, dun. I'm trying to use my earbuds, but they're not connected. So let me see what I've got going on. Dun, dun, dun.
Hey, Cynthia, are you partying?
Hey. Am I what?
Are you partying?
Oh, yeah. It was Sal's birthday. Oh,
Oh, there you go.
yes. It was Sal's birthday on Monday. So,
All right.
yeah. So that was pretty exciting. We went to the Brazilian steakhouse. That was cool. Oh, hi everybody. There's everyone. I finally got things uploaded on my iPad, so I don't have to sit at the office where it's drafty and cold. Hi, Bill. How are you?
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Good to see you. It's time to call the meeting to order. So the Town of James Island regular meeting for January is hereby called to order. The first thing we need to do is call the roll. Please, the town clerk, call the roll.
Councilman Bowles,
Present.
Councilwoman Mignano,
Present.
Councilman Milliken,
Present.
Councilman Mullinax,
Present.
Mayor Woolsey.
Present. So the first item on the agenda is a public hearing regarding ordinance 2021 revisions to the Town of James Island Comprehensive Plan. Do we have anyone signed up to speak?
We do not.
All right, well, I will call the public hearing then closed. Next, we have public comment. Do we have anyone signed up for a public comment?
We do. Miss Brooke Lyon has signed up for public comment.
Thank you.
Miss Lyon, you should be able to speak now.
Thank you, Ms. Callahan. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
I can.
Yes.
My name is Brooke Lyon. I live at 669 Port Circle, James Island. Mr. Mayor and Council, I wanted to address you tonight. Lighthouse Point residents had full access to the public roads of Belterre well over 10 years. In 2012, the Belterre HOA convinced Charleston City Council that security during home construction was an issue, and they were permitted temporary security gates. Shortly after that, these extravagant gates were installed, which prevented our residents from having access to these public roads. The permit provided by City Council allows for the gates to stay closed until the 21st occupancy permit is issued. We are close to that occurring. Because of the increasingly high tides, Schooner Road is flooded with saltwater at every king tide and storm events. There are over 100 families that are denied an alternative access to their homes. Please approve this resolution that Belterre roads be kept public and that the 2012 agreement be honored. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else?
I'm sorry. No, there is no one else signed up to speak.
All right, well, thank you very much then. So let's go on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Would the town clerk please call the roll for vote?
Councilman Bowles,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mignano,
Yes.
Councilman Milliken,
Yes.
Councilman Mullinax,
Yes.
and Mayor Woolsey.
Yes. So we move on to information reports, and the first is the finance report. Is Meryl here to report for us?
She is. Meryl, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Okay.
We can hear you too.
Thank you. Pretty quickly, both lost funds and hospitality are for November. Sorry. All pays, sorry, y'all. All pays are 3 pays. All the pays and benefits are 3 pays. Sorry, y'all.
I'm not sure he likes your report, Meryl.
Under projects, the largest project at $6,000 was for work done on Waterloo. The credit under asset management was a Thomas and Hutton invoice that we paid twice, so that's the credit back. Under capital projects, under Pinckney Park, the 13,000, almost 14,000 is actually the foundation for the new shed. The 11,000 under Green Hill and Honey Hill are still easements. Under projects, James Island Arts and Cultural Center, 19,000 of the 25,000 is to Lock Ridge. I think that's all I have.
You're on mute, Mayor.
Yes, thank you for pointing that out. Are there any questions for Merrill? Thank you, Merrill. And are there any questions? All right, thanks. Let's go on. Next is the administrator's report. Ashley?
Okay. I've attached for you all the last month's Arborist report and Dominion report. Also, I've attached some pictures of some recent developments. We've had the shed is now installed at Pinckney Park. And we've also received the Kubota tractor as well. Been spending a lot of time this month doing some grant submittals. Submitted a PARD grant as well as a CDBG grant was submitted a couple weeks ago. And then back in December, we submitted a grant for the Green Hill Drainage Project. And SCEMD gave us some time to sort of fine tune it, and they review it before they actually send it on to FEMA. So today was the deadline for that. And they did have some requests for information, some additional information. So we resubmitted that grant actually today. Let's see. The town hall hosted a blood drive back on December 23rd. I've attached the update for the James Island Arts and Cultural Center, very similar to the pictures you all saw last night at the Intergovernmental Council meeting. Our budget workshop is scheduled for March the 4th, 6:30. I believe I have that wrong on the other attachment of the whole budget schedule. And if we need to adjust that time, you all please just let me know. It's, of course, very flexible. And then Councilman Milliken, I believe last month had a request for an update, and I didn't really have an update at the time on the Regatta Sidewalk project. I actually just received the draft plans for that today. There are about 12 properties that are that will be affected in some way. The property owners that will have to look at easements because of driveway slope. And then some property owners that will have some landscape that needs to be removed and things like that. So what we want to do is schedule maybe a few small group site meetings on site where we can go over it with those property owners in particular, the ones that are really affected. You know, adjust the plans if necessary, make sure they don't have any issues. And then once we go through that, have a much larger, probably Zoom public meeting for everyone along that route. To go over the whole project before we bring it to you all for the final approval. And that is all I have on my report.
I have a couple questions.
Okay, any questions? Cynthia?
Sorry, I jumped the gun on you.
That's no problem.
I most definitely cannot do 6 p.m. on March 4th on Thursday.
Okay.
So 7 would make it better for me. I could at the earliest probably do 6:45.
Okay.
So because with COVID and everything, my patient schedule just runs like down to the wire. I just can't do 6 o'clock. It's just too much. And then and I appreciate you working with me on that. The other question I have is with the Dominion tree report. What exactly is spiking trees? From Chris's letter.
That's a good question. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure. Mark, I just gave him, maybe Mark knows, or Kristen.
And what if he knows that? The other question that I have is, as I'm driving back and forth and I'm seeing them do these cuts to the trees, and I know I've fielded some residents concerns to you, and Chris met with her or spoke with her on the phone. The other thing that I'm kind of confused about is I see some of the cuts that they're doing that look so extreme, yet on the same tree, there's a branch that's visibly pushing down on the power line. So I don't know if perhaps at some point we can get a little more, I don't know if it's because of the size of the branch that it's too big to cut, if there's a rule about that, or how that works. It just seems kind of counterproductive.
Yeah, and it may be maybe a cable line. I don't know, because I've had that question before, and sometimes it's a cable line, but I'm not, I'm not sure. And I have spoken with our town attorney, Mr. Wilson, and there is some progress being made on our work with Dominion.
Good.
We'll put together a progress report and send that to you all separately.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Cynthia, I may be all wrong about this, but if I had to guess what spiking means, it involves, putting things on your boots, spikes, and climbing the trunk of the tree, as opposed to using ladders, buckets to reach the tree. But I may be wrong.
I was thinking it was cutting the branch in half and making it look like a spike, which I've seen on some of their cuts, but that could be, I'm not sure.
Well, we'll find out.
Mayor?
Councilman Milliken.
Yes, thank you. I wanted to thank Ashley for the update on the Regatta Sidewalk project. Thank you for answering that question from last time. And I know that our arborist, Mr. Gerard, had pointed out that there are 3 additional trees that are going to require mitigation. And I was just wondering if we had any idea about how many trees total there are, that he's come up with, just a rough estimate of how many trees are on that mitigation list now.
I will look at it during the meeting and then let you know. But I can also send you that list separately as well, just so you can.
Thank you. The reason I ask is my hope is that his presence is having a good effect on the training of the crews that are working, and that we're seeing somewhat of a diminishment in the number of trees that are going on that mitigation list. So that's what my hope is. But if you could find that, it's not a hurry right now. I'm just curious to see if his influence is being positive.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further questions? All right, well, thank you. Let's go to the Public Works report. Mark?
Yeah. Okay. Good evening, everybody. In December, there were 3 new requests for service. One was drainage related. Staff has responded to all requests. Staff participated in another planning meeting for the traffic issues related to the Holiday Festival of Lights at the county park. Staff completed the recertification for a post-construction BMP inspector from Clemson. Staff also met with several residents about easement acquisition on the Honey Hill project. Staff met with engineers from Davis and Floyd for study of drainage around Schooner Road, which I believe Ms. Lyon has talked about earlier. Staff oversaw the construction of the work at the shed at Pinckney Park. And we also met with engineers from Thomas and Hutton to review progress on our asset management software system. Staff cleaned 13 signs in December and installed 4 new stop signs and 3 new street name signs. Staff also filled 6 potholes and cut vegetation on the right-of-way to improve driver vision in various locations. And that is my report.
Thanks, Mark. Do we have any questions for the Public Works Director?
Yeah, I just want to say thanks to Mark for interviewing all of our candidates for the tree internships. That was extremely helpful. And I understand he might have come up with a short list, but thanks for going above and beyond and getting that done.
You're welcome.
All right, if there's no further questions? Cynthia, Councilwoman Magnano.
Any and all of those work, that's fine. No, I'd spoken to Mark earlier about this, but I noticed some of the new street signs the lettering is significantly smaller. And I find that it's hard to read. Like if you're coming down Fort Johnson, like Ben Road and Fort Johnson is one. And I was looking, I know Mark had talked to me like that there are main thoroughfare sign sizes and then neighborhood sign sizes. But like Ben Road and Fort Johnson, the lettering is really small. I know people use their phones a lot nowadays, but I don't know if that's a glitch or if that's what we're going to. There's another one here in Harbor Woods that the lettering seems quite small. Not that that's such a big issue because people are going really slow, but I just wanted to just touch on that quickly.
Yes, well, as I emailed you earlier, there are basically just two sizes of signs depending upon the speed limit on that road and what is used for, whether it's a collector road, an arterial road, or a neighborhood road. And we are working through the process of getting those to all be uniform with the MUTCD, Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices. For that, the problem we have come across is that we've got city, state, and ourselves changing out signs in some of these areas, depending on who owns the road and who gets called. James Island Public Service District used to do it. So we've got that in the mix as well. But we are making them all uniform, and at some point in the next year or two, everything will be the way it's supposed to be. I hope that answers your question.
Somewhat. I mean, these are newer signs that are being put up and they don't match the other newer signs that I saw. So I can circle back with you in an email so that we can, because I don't want to take up the whole meeting talking about street signs and the size of the text, but I know like with people who wear glasses or people that are older, if you're making the text too small, they're not going to be able to see it. So
Yeah.
that just for a pure safety standpoint, but I'll email you about that this week.
Okay, I look forward to it.
Thanks, Mark.
Mhm.
Any other questions for Mark? All right, so let's go to the Island Sheriff's Patrol report. Is that Sergeant James?
So Deputy King is under the weather. Sergeant James will be joining us in about 5 minutes, he says. He was on a call and running late.
Well, okay, well, we all understand that. And so why don't we go ahead and move on to request for approval, and we'll circle back to the Island Sheriff's Patrol report if there's no objection. Request for approval, our first one is award for bid for a hazard mitigation project to IPW Construction. Ashley, would you speak to that?
Yes. 1 second, I'm just pulling up my packet. Okay, well, we had 3 bids come in for that project. The low bid, IPW Construction Group, who we do have experience with. They actually did phase 1 at Pinckney Park. Safe project manager, Brian Rembert. So we've worked with him before. Stantec did certify their low bid. It was a qualified low bid. They didn't leave anything out. And I would recommend awarding this to IPW Construction.
All right, is there a motion in favor?
So moved.
There's a second.
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, would you please call the roll, Francis?
Councilman Bowles,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mignano,
Yes.
Councilman Milliken,
Yes.
Councilman Molinax,
Yes.
Mayor Woolsey.
Yes. So the next item on the agenda is the purchase of GPS asset management tool. Would you speak to that, please, Ashley?
Yes, this is a tool that we had briefly touched on in last year's budget workshop. We had included it in the budget and $66,646. And Mark could probably talk to a little bit more what it is, but it's definitely for in the field, helping to accurately locate the underground utilities, and then marking them in our new asset management software in the field on a tablet, tying it into GeoThink.
Yeah, do y'all want me to talk more
Well,
about?
let's, is there a motion to approve?
Yes.
There's, was that
Second,
Dan?
Yes, sir.
Yes, okay, thank you. So Dan moves to approve, and is there a second?
Second.
I guess we'll count that as Troy seconded. Okay, any further discussion, any questions for Mark?
I think this is Dan Bolt speaking. I think Mark was just going to give a brief explanation, if you don't mind, Mark.
Yes,
Yeah.
please go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, I don't mind. Basically, this is a tool that links up with the tablet to position where these assets are within a few inches instead of what the tablet can do, which is within a few meters. And as we know, that's a pretty big discrepancy, and we need to know exactly where our underground assets are. And this will be an extremely big help with that, and is part of this asset management program.
So, Mark, I have a question. So this isn't like a software purchase. This is an actual piece of equipment that you're going to be taking out in the field to survey. Is that correct?
That is right. It basically is a pole with a GPS device on the top. I don't know how else to describe it until you see it. I mean, it looks like a pole with a saucer on top.
Okay.
It's called R2D2, right?
Yes, that is right. And we did not want to put that into the into the description because, well, obvious
Like
reasons.
R2D2.
Okay. Thank
All right,
you.
Any further questions? Any further discussion? Hearing none, would you please call the roll, Francis?
Councilman Bowles,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mignano,
Yes.
Councilman Milliken,
yes.
Councilman Molinax,
Yes.
Mayor Woolsey.
Yes. Okay, so our next item on the agenda then is the lease of the large Canon printer. Ash, would you explain that?
Yes. This is another piece of equipment that we briefly touched on and had budgeted at the budget workshop last year. This is really for the planning department, a large plotter. DocuSystems actually has a similar lease with City of North Charleston and Town of Mount Pleasant, this exact printer. And they gave us state contracting warranty and discounts. They also do our large copier machine here as well. They've met with Kristen, the reps met with Kristen a few times recently again, as well as Francis, to make sure that this would fit the planning department's needs.
And is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
That's Councilman Milliken moves. Is there a second?
Second.
I think we'll count Councilwoman Mignano as the second on that one. Thank you. And any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, would you please call the roll, Francis?
Councilman Bowles,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mignano,
Yes.
Councilman Milliken,
Yes.
Councilman Molinax,
Yes.
Mayor Woolsey.
Yes. All right, the next item on the agenda is the James Island Arts and Cultural Center change order request. Would you please explain that, Ashley?
Yes, and I also have the contractor James, as well as the design team that are on the call. If you have any more detailed questions, I sent you all an email earlier, and I apologize it came so late, but the change order request originally was going to be $108,000. This was for the HVAC and structural work, due to actually kind of, getting up there and taking things apart and fine tuning the specs. The price is at approximately $125,000. So the request for approval is the addition, the difference in between 125 and the 108 that was originally approved.
That's an additional 17,000.
Yes.
Is there a motion to approve that change?
I make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so any further questions or discussion?
I have a
Hearing none-
question.
Yes, Councilman Bowles.
Having read through the packet, it sounds like this is all necessary upfits. Just confirming, I guess, with the staff's review that, I'm sorry if you hear my daughter in the background. It's bedtime. This is a recommended, a recommended expenditure, I assume.
Yes, and the way it was explained to me, and if they want to chime in here, where the HVAC sits on this section of roof, the way it ties in to the other side of the roof is very important, because the other side will have to be completely replaced eventually. So that tie-in and making sure that that's done properly, I think is what some of this additional cost is related to. Did I get that right, James?
Yeah, that's actually pretty close, actually. So just and thank you for this opportunity to talk to everybody here again today. We had the big price increase from when we originally talked, and after we put together the specifications and the engineering drawings, and then went back to our subs to kind of relook it based on the exact engineering drawings and specifications, which we didn't have before. We were just really estimating when we met with you guys back in December. Was the decision really to make the roof structure, that the roofing that we're going to do underneath the HVAC, the same standard that you're going to want the roof replacement in the future for the rest of your complex. And so when we had first bid this, we really did it at the lowest possible cost. We just want to do the bare minimum amount of roofing work up there to get the HVAC unit in place. And then what we came back with the decision was, they might as well go ahead and upgrade it now to get it to match what's going to be a future roof. Otherwise, you're going to have to go back and redo new work again later on in the future. And that didn't make a lot of sense. So go ahead and do it to the way you want to do it now, to the way you're going to do the rest of the roof in the future. And hope that explains things a little better. That was the driver of most of the cost increase over.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions?
Yeah, I have a question. James, did you have a chance to look at the part of the roof that isn't going to be covered right now by what we're doing? And do you have any idea what it might cost to finish it? In other words, what I'm worried about is if we fix half the roof, we're going to end up soon having to fix the other half. And I just wonder about the quality of the material in the remaining roof structure.
Sir, that's a good question. And I would think I would probably need to go back and talk to my roofing sub to give you a better answer on that one. It currently is sealed. I mean, it works. We do know, based on talking with him, generally speaking, probably the next 5 years, you're going to need to look at getting back up there to potentially replace the rest of the roof. Now, the way this is working, if you've looked at that building, the air conditioner currently sits in a well. And so we're only roofing on the inside of that well up to the top of it. And we're not going to actually go into the rest of the roof itself. So it's a pretty well separated area from the rest of the roof itself, which really gives us an opportunity to get in there and do this one right without disturbing the remaining of the roof. And that's a good thing, because, that's because of that roof and the age of it, you really don't want to disturb it until you have to, which I think is probably going to be the next 5 years.
Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
Mayor
We
Woolsey.
lose the mayor.
He's heading back.
I guess it looks like we lost the mayor. We just sit for a minute and see if he logs back on. There he is.
Is there any further questions? All right, hearing none. Would you please call the roll, Francis?
Councilman Bowles,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mignano,
Yes.
Councilman Milliken,
Yes.
Councilman Molinax,
Yes.
Mayor Woolsey.
Yes. All right, so we are finished with the a request for approval, and we will go on to committee reports unless we are able to go back to the Island Sheriff's Patrol report. Is Sean ready, Ashley?
Sorry, I've actually been on my phone he's having trouble getting logged in.
Okay, so let's go ahead and move on, and we'll see if he can get logged in later. And so the next item on the agenda is our Land Use Committee report. Councilwoman Mignano.
Yes, I have reached out to several people about the Board of Zoning Appeals, and unfortunately, I'm expecting to hear back from them hopefully tomorrow. And I apologize that I haven't been able to get a nominee for today. Is that going to be a problem?
No, it shouldn't
Okay.
be a problem.
Yeah, so as soon as I get them, and I've been beating the bushes for this. So as soon as I get the nominee names that the name, then I will send it on to Francis, and we can have it, addressed as soon as possible.
All right, well, thank you. Anything
don't
else
have-
from the Land Use Committee?
The only thing that we've got is I'm reaching out to Dana Miley with James Island Charter High School tomorrow to follow up with our repair care internship program. So I look forward to that. And that's about all I've got for today.
All right, well, thank you very much. So let's go on to the Environmental and Beautification Committee, Councilman Milliken.
Thank you. James Island Pride will be hosting our first litter pickup of 2021 this Saturday from 9 to 11 a.m. As usual, we will have our masks on, and we will be socially distancing when we meet at Town Hall to pick up our orange vests, trash bags, and gloves to go pick up trash. I hope that everybody can join us. I think it's going to be a little bit chilly, but it should be a nice morning to pick up trash. If you've been driving around James Island, you know, and you'll recognize the fact that we really need to get out there because there's a lot of trash on our roadways. So hopefully we'll get a lot of citizens showing up for that. And that's all I have right now.
All right, any questions for Councilman Milliken? All right, thank you. I have no report for the Children's Committee. Public Safety Committee, Councilman Molinax.
I have no report at this time.
History Committee, one report is the History Committee has suspended all of our activities until the summer, primarily because of COVID, and that would be our tentative plans to have activities for Black History Month, and then also an activity associated with the first shot at Fort Johnson. Then I also have nominations for History Council. I believe that we have a vacancy, and Councilwoman Mignano, did you have a nomination?
That's another one I'm waiting to hear from. I've been asking.
That's fine. Thank you. I have no report for Rethink Folly Road. The Drainage Committee is next. Councilman Mullinex, do you have a report for?
Yeah, we had a meeting last week and we went over a lot of interesting issues. We discussed the James Island Creek Basin, the Central Park Basin, the Signal Point Drainage Basin, and the Lighthouse Point Basin. And things are moving ahead quite well on all of those points. And we also had a very interesting, Mark had also given us a real good update on the Petway Station program. And we'll be basically getting, we hope to at least have 30 stations throughout the town. And he made a good point on how that since we've started this program, we've collected, or at least the town has collected 7,000 pounds of pet waste. And that is waste that could have found its way in our waterways. So, and into our drainage. So that program has been a great success in my opinion. And so I just kind of wanted to thank Mark for all his work on that. So we had a very productive meeting, and our next meeting will probably be sometime in April, but I'll let you know closer when we have a precise date for that. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
So do we have any questions for Councilman Mullinex? All right, thank you. Let's go to the Business Development Committee, Councilman Bowles.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have not held regular meetings like before COVID times, but we do communicate over email and the phone. There were no requests from any of the members of the committee for this month's meeting, but I would point out for anybody who's listening that there's a lot of great restaurants that are still open on James Island. So don't forget to make your way around to everybody. Nick Scover is on the committee. He's been really helpful to me, and he runs Paisanos and folks at Smoky Oak, and Angie Ballinger out at Workman's Cafe, all that stuff. There's a lot of good ones up and down Folly Roads, and some new businesses opening in the middle of all this. So I know there's only a handful of people on this Zoom, but maybe pass it around, not to forget to support our local businesses.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Councilman Bowles? Hearing none, let's go on to the Tree Advisory Committee. Councilman Milliken.
Thank you. The Tree Advisory Council met on January 12th. The Tree Council has been working with Mark Johnson in Public Works and with Kristen Crane in developing a program where we're going to survey all the trees and right-of-ways on James Island. Mark Johnson just completed interviews for our tree survey applicants and has come up with a list of 4 candidates. And our next step will involve getting them hired and trained, at which point they can start collecting data. We also reviewed the rules for correspondence at our last meeting via email to ensure compliance with FOIA. So that's about all we have.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Councilman Milliken? All right, so let's go on to James Island Governmental Council, which was last night, and I think we heard a long review about the general permit for drainage canals. And is there any questions or?
Mayor, we have Deputy James is on the call now.
Okay, well, I think then if there's no objection, let's go back to get the Island Sheriff's Patrol report.
Hey, can you hear me?
We can.
Okay. Sorry, I been fighting the obviously the operative word here, the communications. So recently I added some night shift deputies to the town of James Island to cover nights. As you know, here in the last month and a half, 2 months, we had 2 homicides. Both of them were unsolved. One was City of Charleston, one was in the county. The one that was in the county, we believe that that one will have no retaliation due to the fact that we think that that was possibly a robbery that kind of went awry. or rye. And as far as that goes, but we haven't solved either one of them 100%. We got some car break-ins that have happened, but they're very, very few and far between. So we got a couple over here, a couple over there. We did have somebody left a gun in an unlocked car, and but we haven't had anybody that, in other words, had like 4 or 5 in one night or anything like that. It's been kind of sporadic. As far as adding some more deputies, we added some more deputies, and they've been hitting night shift, and we've been, of course, stopping a lot of the violent crime, what I believe would be violent crime. So I think that pretty much everything's going pretty good as far as that goes. Also, we're coming up, of course, on the warm months. So I'm a little worried about the warm months and everything, but I'm, of course, got the new scheduling done. Obviously, we have a new sheriff, and Sheriff Graziano is big into community policing, even more so than we've ever been before. So we're trying to also get that uprooted or started and get that underway. Can y'all still hear me?
Yes, we do. I'm sorry. Are there any questions for Sergeant James? Well, hearing none, thank you so much for your report.
Okay,
All
thank
right,
you.
so now we'll return to the agenda, maybe if I can find out where I am. I believe we were at proclamations and resolutions, and we have resolution 2021, resolution committing town greenbelt funds for city greenbelt project. Ashley, would you explain that?
Yes, and I'm going to share my screen because I realized just before this meeting that the map I created showing this parcel, I was remiss not to put it in the packet. So, the city approached the town about contributing $50,000 to the purchase of this parcel. They have not sent me their actual greenbelt application yet, or I would have forwarded along, but all of the information I do know about the parcel was included in this resolution. And I know you all heard last night when they talked about it. The effort is to use it to help promote positive drainage in this area, as well as create some walking trails to the nearby neighborhoods.
So is there a motion in favor?
I'll make the motion for discussion.
Is there a second?
I second that.
Okay, so discussion. Did you want to speak to that, speak about that, Councilman Milliken?
Yeah, I guess I would like to see if there was any kind of conceptual plan about what is actually going to be planned for this greenbelt space. I'm aware that there's some sort of a pond facility that's going to be part of this, and then also some walking trails. But I'm just not sure if it's just going to be like a trail around the pond or whether it's going to access other locations. I guess I just would like to know more details about it. If it does facilitate drainage and give some people some aid, I would be very much for it. But I guess I would like to know more about what the plan is. Also, this is outside of the town of James Island. This is in, I believe, is this unincorporated Charleston County?
The particular parcel is in the city of Charleston. There's unincorporated Charleston County near there, but it's north of the town's boundaries.
Okay, all right.
And my understanding is that that there will be drainage work. This will be a drainage project in many ways, but it'll also be a pocket park, and so this would be the town contributing a pretty small share of the cost of purchasing the property from our greenbelt funds. Any other questions or comments or discussion? And,
I-
and Councilman Milliken, you want to know more about it. I think that would be desirable. The applications are due at the end of the month, and we tried to get as much information as we can, but this is what we have.
Okay, thank you.
This is,
Okay,
This is
Councilwoman Magnano.
yes, I have a question. So did I hear you correctly? They were actually going to be part owners of this property?
I
Or are
would
we
say
just giving
not.
them money?
No, we're just contributing funds to help purchase this.
Well, that seems the typical arrangement that we seem to have with City of Charleston, which so we're not going to have any ownership. We're just giving them money so that they can own the property, and we just pay for improvements. Is that correct?
No, it's not correct. We wouldn't be paying for any improvements. We would
But
be contributing $50,000 to the purchase of the property. The City of Charleston, I think, would be paying $300,000 for the purchase of the property, and the Charleston County is going to construct the I don't know, whatever's going to go there. The drainage system and the trails and so on. And I imagine the City of Charleston will be responsible for any maintenance, but I have not asked that question. Ashley, did we gotten that far? Did anyone tell us that?
No, I haven't. It seemed like there were ongoing negotiations with the property owner, and so there really wasn't even a firm sale price. I think it was more in the range of 400,000. So
That'd be $350,000 at the city, if that's what happens. The city would have to pay.
So this is Councilwoman Mignano. I have another question. I apologize for the background noise. But so what town of James Island properties would be positively impacted by the drainage projects that they would be, doing on this parcel of land? And what are there town of James Island neighborhoods close to here?
So let's see, I don't know if this map really is adequate to show that. So the short answer is I would say, definitely not. That this is substantially north of our jurisdiction. This is on Little James Island. And the areas that are in the town on Little James Island are very close to Folly Road and between Folly Road and the Publix. And I don't believe that these would be affected at all by this project. The properties that will benefit the most is a mixed neighborhood of unincorporated area and city that used to be in the town on Howell Drive that runs from Maybank Highway down to this property. And, some of the areas on that are subject to very severe flooding. Citizens of the town of James Island, of course, will be able to go to this park and enjoy it like any other, be a public park that our citizens will be allowed to enjoy it. So they will get recreation amenities from it, but it would not, it would drain. I think it predominantly affects people in the unincorporated area.
Would it, I'm sorry, go ahead, Dan. Go ahead.
I just looked real quickly. The TMS number on Charleston County GIS shows it's owned by an entity called Howell Avenue LLC. And the Secretary of State shows that the registered agent for that entity is Ryan Buck on Main Road in Charleston. I don't know I know last night they talked about how this just kind of came out of nowhere and it was a fortuitous turn of events that this person wanted to sell the property. And I echo some of the questions about what would be the benefit to the town residents, while at the same time, I know it'll help people over there because I know from, there's a gentleman named Jimmy Mazik who lives in that neighborhood over there. He's probably emailed everyone on this conference, and I know that him and his neighbors get really bad flooding when it rains and the tide is in. So it would probably be a kindness to help them with this. But I do kind of echo some of the questions because of past transactions where the town winds up just kind of helping to finance something that doesn't really benefit the town. It makes me a little bit hesitant on this as well. And if I'm hearing Mr. Mayor correctly, the deadline to participate in the purchase will be at the end of January. Am I
Yes.
hearing that right?
Yes, the application, the Greenbelt application is in December, in January. So, this would not involve any expenditure of town cash, but this is money in the Greenbelt Fund that is allocated to the town. And so that money would not be able to be spent on other future town projects, which would almost certainly be, purchasing, land for a green space. So, the last major expenditure the town made for green space was for Brantley Park. So the town used some of our Greenbelt funds for that. And the city contributed to the purchase of that property as well. And that is a town managed park. This would not be a town managed park at all. The town is contributing some money to, to this, some of our Greenbelt money towards this project. And it's not central to town. It's in an area of James Island that is the primary benefit for the drainage, I think, is unincorporated area. But, it'll be a park that our citizens can go to, but it won't be really close to town citizens.
Is there,
I'm
go
sorry. Go
ahead.
ahead. No, you go ahead and I'll ask after you. This is Councilwoman Mignano.
I just also echo some of Councilman Milliken's questions about kind of the plans and stuff going forward. If there's a more definite plan, it would be helpful. We don't have a way to come back to this, I guess, if we're due by the end of the month to vote on it, to make sure that it can't later turn into a private construction project for somebody, or, in any way wind up anything other than public space would be one question I would have. And another is whether we, as using Brantley Park as an example, I think the town came more out of pocket than the city, and we're responsible to manage it, and we don't own it. And it is within the town. I would just hate to see another large expenditure of money go down where we don't retain some sort of influence or control over the future of it, even though this is outside the town. And again, I know for a fact that the people around it will benefit from having improved drainage in their area. I don't guess anybody on this conference knows any of those things as far as are there going to be deed restrictions or
Yes,
100% certain that
yes, we
won't have to. We won't get stuck with the landscaping or anything like that later. So
there will, yes, there will be deed restrictions. That's the way Greenbelt money works. And so the Charleston County, basically Charleston County handles the Greenbelt funds, and for Greenbelt money to be used for this purchase, there will be deed restrictions that they will not be able to develop it. If the city of Charleston were to later want to sell it, I guess they could, and then the city of Charleston would have to pay all, the Greenbelt funds back to, to the county, and then we would get our $50,000 allocation back. And then, we could use it for something else. And so there's, no chance, so definitely this will, and, there's no chance that this will be anything but some, green space. And so that's not a concern. And, the town isn't agreeing to any obligation to manage it at all.
This is Councilwoman Mignano, and I echo some of Councilman Bowles' questions and concerns about this. I'm looking here and there seems to be an empty lot of property right next to it. Do we know what that is? Is that up for development for houses or whatever? Or is that also, it looks like it's between two cul-de-sacs or whatever. Is that also undeveloped as well?
If you recollect at the meeting last night, they explained that they are interested in that property, but the owner is not interested in selling it.
That's
at a
right.
reasonable price. And so I suppose it could conceivably be developed. I don't know. I believe it's quite low, but I'm not sure.
And, okay. And I mean, I know that the people like on Houghton Drive and in that area are definitely, in Howell Avenue, definitely have flooding. And I most certainly, you know, would want to, excuse me, help alleviate all, you know, the flooding that they're having and the drainage issues that they're dealing with. I don't want us to get, you know, have any obligation to manage or do whatever when you said we wouldn't have that. So that's a good point. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like City of Charleston buys stuff and then we contribute or maintain it or manage it, and then there's, you know, no benefit. But decrease in flooding would definitely be a benefit, and these people have suffered a lot back there.
So Councilwoman Mignano, I don't believe that there are many situations where you can say that the town of James Island has purchased things for the city of Charleston and that we receive no benefit from it. I think that, you know, the characterization of Brantley Park as something that we receive no benefit from or won't receive benefit from a park is unfair. And you know, as I see it, is that, you know, the town could have purchased that property out of our own pocket, but instead we got the city of Charleston to contribute a substantial amount. And I realize that you and Councilman Bowles make a whole lot of the deed of ownership, but in this situation with public property, particularly paid for by Greenbelt funds, that really doesn't mean a lot. That Brantley Park and this property can only be used for green space. And, you know, in Brantley Park, you know, I'm proud and happy that the town is able to determine how it will be used. You know, we are responsible for managing it. That's a good thing. We decide how that park that is on Folly Road in an under city jurisdiction, but in an area in the center of the town, it's desirable for us. So anyway, I guess that's not really on the subject. And, we just need to go forward and speak to this issue. I'm sorry.
Excuse me. So for one, because it seems like development has gone really crazy, I am for more green spaces. Don't misunderstand, because it feels like our island is getting very full. And you know, we're having, you know, infrastructure issues and traffic and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I am for preserving more green space and addressing drainage in a positive way when we can. And I wasn't saying that Brantley Park doesn't have any benefit. It just, what I was trying to say is that the city of Charleston owns it, and then we're responsible for the maintenance of it. And sometimes that just doesn't feel very equitable to me. But I understand what you're talking about with the control of it, and that's not our topic today. So we'll agree to let that one move on. And those are all my comments. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And sorry I brought that up.
Mayor, I have another question.
Yes, Councilman Milliken.
I guess, you know, the assumption here is that the detention pond is going to have a major role in solving drainage issues on Howell. That's how this was kind of characterized. And I believe that's an important thing. I think it's very important. But is that really based on a study that we're going to build a pond and that's going to alleviate the flooding issues on Howell? I guess I haven't really seen the data or had somebody from Charleston Public Works or County Public Works really weigh that out, how that's going to work. And if you know anything about that, I'd like to know about that, because that would be a major factor in my decision process on whether or not this will be a real useful amenity to put in. because that would be the number one reason why I would be voting in favor. If we did have some data to suggest that drainage is going to be alleviated with this detention pond.
So my understanding, I think that the county engineers have worked out a plan. I have not seen that plan, but what I was told is that they're going to develop drainage ditches that really don't exist along Howell Drive. I mean, there's some drainage ditches, but they're going to run drainage ditches. The water flows generally from the Maybank Highway down towards the end of the road where this pond's going to go. So the water is going to go in ditches that they're going to construct and into this pond.
So then when
where does it go from there? And I'm not sure exactly where.
Yeah, that's the next step, because you're going to be now. You're now going to be focusing a lot of water into one location. Is that location enough to handle all the additional water? Or is there another plan to send the water somewhere else? See, I would like to know more about the drainage infrastructure that's being proposed here. Because
I understand that, and
I want to put water on somebody else. And I need to have the information to make a informed decision.
I think that you will discover. I certainly have confidence in in Chris Wanamaker and the rest of the Charleston County Public Works staff that does tremendous work for us, that they would not be proposing this unless it was a sound plan. And I can understand how you would want them to say, well, here's our plan and it's sound. But I think that's what it would come down to. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I understand what you say, your concern, but we do not have detailed plans. When I agreed to bring this forward to y'all, I asked for more information, and this map is what we have. And they are anxious to get this, applied for this year. So I guess that's part of the reason why we are, why I'm bringing it forward now with the information we have, because the applications are due in the end of this month. And this is sort of our last chance to make this contribution.
But this area has been suffering drainage issues for decades. It's been bad. So certainly there must have been some plans already in place that could have backed up this idea that they're putting out right now. I look to the immediate left of this property and I see a very long stretch that is going to be full of homes. The very long stretch immediately to the left right here. That is going to put additional pressure on the drainage infrastructure in this area. And if we're facilitating drainage infrastructure for developers, let's let the developers buy the drainage pond rather than using our precious Greenbelt monies for that. I thought that our plan was to kind of accrue some Greenbelt monies until we had a substantial amount to buy a decent park on James Island. And I still hold a candle for the park at on Harborview Road by Charleston Water Systems, where they agreed to back then give us some matching funds for that. And that would be an ideal location in the town at the gateway of James Island. So,
well, that's actually not in the town, but that's neither here nor there.
One of them is.
But that's not important. It's next to the town anyway. Closer to town jurisdiction than this is for sure. Any other discussion or about this issue?
Yeah, just to dovetail with what Milliken was just saying, I looked up this registered agent is also the registered agent for 424 Howell Avenue LLC, 428 Howell Avenue LLC, and 444 Howell Avenue LLC, which look like they're right up the 444 is adjacent to this property, and then the other two are just north of it. So, I don't know what that means. Just means the same people are probably associated with other parcels right north of it. Again, it might be a good thing for the people around there. I echo Councilman Milliken's thing. I wish that there was a lot more info underlying the request for funds is all.
All right. Any other questions or comments or discussion?
This is Councilwoman Mignano.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there any way that we could ask them for more detailed information so we could make a more informed decision and then circle back before the end of the month with this? Could we call like a special session maybe?
I second that.
Sorry, I was supposed to have, I know it was kind of sprung on city staff, sort of last minute. And he was hoping to have their green belt application to me this week. But I just don't think he was able to put it together.
So did we take that
Council.
count? So we're taking that it wasn't clear to me, but Councilwoman Mignano, are you moving to postpone consideration?
Yes.
And Councilman Bowles, you have seconded that?
Yes, sir.
All right. Any discussion of the motion to postpone? Hearing none, would you please call the roll, Francis?
Councilman Bowles,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mignano,
Yes.
Councilman Milliken,
Yes.
Councilman Molinax,
Yes.
Mayor Woolsey.
No. So that passes, and so this item is postponed. So let's go to the next item, and this is Resolution 2021-02, resolution supporting the town's TST funding request. Ashley, would you speak to that?
Yes. 1 second. Stop this screen share. We had actually made this same request last year. This is for our sidewalk project from Seaside Lane to Condon Drive. It would be our phase 3 sidewalk phase. The estimated construction budget is roughly $50,000. Our match that we currently have in the capital improvement projects budget is $174,570. It is in permitting. They've actually had just sent it back to DOT, I think the end of last week, answering some more questions. So we are much further along this year. We do have some letters of support. I know that last year, a lot of the extra TST funds went to specific projects. And so we weren't able to get this awarded. I think we do have a much better shot this year.
All right. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Well, hearing none, then would you please call the roll, Francis?
Councilman Bowles,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mignano,
Yes.
Councilman Milliken,
Yes.
Councilman Molinax,
Yes.
Mayor Woolsey.
Yes. All right. So next we go to the resolution 2021-03. This is for the Belterre HOA. I guess, Troy, would you like to speak to this?
Yes, I can. Yeah, I've been kind of dealing with this issue since I was on council. This started in either August or September of 2012. Out of the clear blue, these gates appeared when at that time the new Belterre development. It's the reasoning that they offered, that they gave, was that it was for temporary purposes. They said that it was to protect their construction sites from vandalism. When these gates came up, it looked quite like they were meant to be permanent gates, as anyone who's seen them can attest to. It was, at the time, Dean Regal was on city council, of the city of Charleston, and at the time the mayor pro tem there. And I had got him involved in it. And also he got Joe Riley involved in it, the mayor of Charleston at the time. And they, at the time, today, there's a policy against having closed communities like that, gated communities. So they were against it, but it appeared that the developers found a loophole. But it said that at the 21st occupancy permit, when that was provided, then these gates would come down. And it's getting close to that time, from my understanding. And this is kind of like a preemptive kind of situation here. There's a lot of chatter that the HOA there would like to make these gates permanent. They would like to close off the two roads in question that's within Belterra from the residents of Lighthouse Point. Those who live in the back of Lighthouse Point only have one way to get to the entrance of the community, and that's down Schooner Road, which can flood during king tides, and which requires people to drive through salt water. And as we saw in the previous meetings we've had, these king tides are becoming more frequent and a lot more during the course of the year. So therefore, I thought this would be a good idea to, one, let the HOA know how we feel, and also to let the city of Charleston know that if this is requested by the HOA, please take us into consideration and do not, allow this, because it would create an undue hardship in probably about 100 residents of the Lighthouse community. The Lighthouse Point community, I should say. So that was the reason for submitting this. This is just basically asking them to be good neighbors and to adhere to an agreement that they themselves helped to engineer back in 2012. So that's kind of a synopsis of the whole situation. I know it's kind of long, but this is about like 8 years in the making.
So I'll take that as a motion in favor. Is there a second?
Yes, I'll second. I also have a friendly amendment to offer.
Okay, so it's moved and seconded, and so is there any discussion? And I'll recognize you, Councilman Milliken. So you want to make a motion, make an amendment?
Yes, I think it's a great idea. I'm in support of this. My only concern is that it only really addresses actions by the Belterra HOA. And I think that the city of Charleston is probably the authority that can direct the HOA as to whether or not they can have a gate or not. Yes. So what I would like to add as an amendment to it, under number 2, which is now therefore be it resolved that, strike what's there right now. Strike the city of Charleston be made aware of the town of James Island's concerns. Strike all of that and replace that with the town of James Island requests that the city of Charleston not privatize the public roads of Tanner Trail and Patriot Point Drive, comma, and then go to 3.
Is there a second?
I second that.
So any discussion? Okay, so Councilman Milliken, I agree with your thought and your approach, but I actually believe it's just not appropriate for us to be, asking the neighborhood to not make this request or anything like that. I think that we should deal directly with the city, and basically what you have said is what we should say. And I would like to move to amend the amendment, which I think last time we can do that, but to replace all 3 of the authorizations. Yes.
point of order.
Yes.
You're going to amend the, do we, I think we need to dispose of the amendment
No,
first.
you can amend amendments, and then that's as far as.
But I want to make sure you've got the amendment right, because when you described it, the amendment does directly address the city of Charleston.
Yes, I agree with you. So anyway, I'm proposing, here's the, the amendment, what I would propose to substitute all the 3 items, the amended one as well. Oh, so you've disabled my screen sharing, Ashley?
Okay, you should be able to share now.
So what I think we should say in our action items is the town of James Island requests that the city of Charleston retain Tanner Trail and Parrot Point Trail as public roads. And the town requests that the city of Charleston enforce its 2012 agreement with the Belterre HOA to permanently open the gates that closing public assets to these public roads. Is there a second?
I will second that.
Okay, so if this passes, then that will substitute for all 3 of the current statements, and this is be what we say. I believe that this is the way, as a government agency, we should deal with it. And I'm not adverse to the language of don't privatize, but I think I like keep it as public roads is the right way to do it. And then rather than just say, honor this agreement from 2012, we should, that we should request the city enforce their agreement. And just as an aside, I think Councilman Mullinax has been in conversation with Councilwoman Jackson from the city of Charleston, as I have. And I believe the city of Charleston is sympathetic to this view, that they're inclined to do what we would request. But I think that's the way to handle it. So any other discussion? All right, so hearing none, this would be the amendment to the amendment. Vote on it. If this passes, then we would substitute all 3 of the current action items with this language. Would you please call the roll?
Councilman Bowles,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mignano,
Yes.
Councilman Milliken,
Yes.
Councilman Mullinax,
Yes.
Mayor Woolsey.
Yes. And so I know this is a bit confusing in the order, but we actually, now that we've amended the amendment, this is the amendment that Councilman Milliken made, we have to vote on that. So unless there's any discussion, we can just go ahead. Without objection, let's go ahead and go to a vote. So this is again, basically doing the same thing, adopting this amendment. So would you please call the roll? Yes, go ahead.
I have a quick question. We've talked about Belterre several times at these meetings and drainage issues and things like that. Are we able to invite some representatives from their HOA to some sort of forum or discussion, maybe instead of talking around them after we get done with all this kind of stuff? Can we go directly to them and ask them these things and see if they would voluntarily, help their neighbors? And maybe I'm asking that question because
I think
that's hard.
it's not, yes, we can. I think we can. Anyway, any further discussion for this amendment? All right, would you please call the roll? Francis?
Councilman Bowles,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mignano,
Yes.
Councilman Milliken,
Yes.
Councilman Mullinax,
Yes.
Mayor Woolsey.
Yes. And so now we have to go at this a third time, and now we are discussing the amended resolution. And so we can discuss it. We could have further amendments, but is there any further discussion? Okay, so this would be voting for the resolution as amended. If there's no further discussion, Francis, would you please call the roll?
Councilman Bowles,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mignano,
Yes.
Councilman Milliken,
Yes.
Councilman Mullinax,
Yes.
Mayor Woolsey.
Yes. So that passes. All right, so next we go to emergency ordinance 7/2020. Our face covering ordinance is due to expire tomorrow. Actually expires, I guess, tonight at midnight or something like that. And I would move that we extend it to February 18th, which is, I believe, our meeting date.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Francis, would you please call the roll?
Councilman Bowles,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mignano,
No.
Councilman Milliken,
Yes.
Councilman Mullinax,
Yes.
Mayor Woolsey.
Yes, and so that passes and extended into is February 18th. Is that right? Yes. All right, our next item is ordinances for first reading. This is ordinance 2021, an ordinance for revision to the Town of James Island Comprehensive Plan. Ashley, would you like to speak to it?
Our planning director, Kristen Crane, is here to speak to it, and I have screen shared the comp plan.
Alrighty. Y'all hear me?
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm not going to go through every edit, but I'll do a brief kind of overview of what we've been doing for the past almost year. According to South Carolina law, we're required to review our comprehensive plan every 5 years, and then we're required to do a full update every 10 years. So this would be our five-year review since we last updated it in 2015, 2016. So the Planning Commission has been working on this review since March. We've had 8 meetings to discuss it, 5 of those being public workshops, and most of them via Zoom due to COVID. But the plan is meant to overall serve as a guide for public decision making, and it states our goals and our timeframes and strategies for the 9 elements that are included in there that are required. The housing element and the population element, we didn't do a lot of updating to due to the 2020 census data hopefully being released soon. As soon as that's released, we can go ahead and update those 2 elements fully, and we don't have to wait till the 10-year update to do that. We can do that as soon as we get the information. We did enlist some outside assistance with a few other agencies, such as James Island Public Service District, CARTA, SCDNR, and we had a lot of updates from Public Works, from Mark. We've done a lot of improvements in that area. And so this is our version. And I think that's it, unless y'all have any questions on any specific updates.
Well, we'll
do.
start with, is there a motion to approve?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve for discussion.
Well, so I'll take Dan as making the motion, and Garrett, would you make the second then?
Yes.
For discussion. Okay, so it was moved and seconded. And so, yes, now we're in discussion. Any, you can ask, we can ask questions. It would be order to ask questions of the planning director or.
Yes, I have a question, Kristen. It's just regarding terminology. And first of all, I've just got to commend you and Flannery and the Planning Commission for doing a really great job of updating this plan. I know it's a lot of hard work to do it, but thank you so much for your efforts. But the question I have is a term that you're using here that's called ecosystem services. And it's a land use element goal. It's on, I guess, page 4 is the first mention of it that I came across. But I just, ecosystem itself is probably worth, is what you're referring to. And services, I wasn't sure what that meant.
That was a word or a term that was presented in our October meeting by one of our planning commissioners. I had actually never heard of that term either, but I have since looked it up, and we can, if you think it should be changed, just let me know. But the definition I found was any positive benefit that wildlife or ecosystems provide to people. But like some other terms that are listed in here, there are multiple definitions. And so, I don't know what else to say about that term.
Well, I guess my concern would be that I think that ecosystems are valid in and of themselves, rather than just being beneficial to people. Sometimes they're beneficial to each other. And I guess you could leave it at ecosystems rather than ecosystem services. Just leave it as ecosystem. And I think it works.
I agree.
In the context that you're using it. I guess I don't want to be so prescriptive about what the function of an ecosystem is. I like ecosystems. I think they're cool, but they're not for me. They're for the organisms in the ecosystem. So that's just an element that I wanted to point out.
Okay.
This is Councilwoman Mignano. I have a question regarding terminology as well. And it's the word mutualistic, and I'd spoken with you previously, but I think there's some of the definitions for it may not quite be the best word for to be used in our comprehensive plan.
Yeah. That was another term that was brought up that the same meeting. And again, that was one that we have found has multiple definitions. The one, how it was explained in the meeting to the Planning Commission was that it's a relationship between entities in which all parties benefit. However, if there's, that's another word where we could probably find a better word, in my opinion, to go. That was in the economic goal, in the economic development goal, the word positive was stricken for the word mutualistic to go there. So I think the intent was just to have it mean good for all parties, but since that October meeting, definitions have surfaced. Yes.
That's very interesting because I read that a different way. I read mutualistic like in architecture, where they have like, you design a building to do, say, some sort of a software design, and then another part of the building is a different type of thing, and then both of them get together because they're in the same building, and you have that building function in a mutualistic way where you have some emergent new function that comes out of it. And that's how I took it in like the architectural sense of things. I
Yeah.
thought that was
Maybe-
being
Well-
very innovative.
So Councilman, I guess I'll tell you that, it's mutualistic economic development. And so, as economists, what does mutualism mean in economics? And it's a economic approach developed in the late 19th century by Pierre Proudhon, an anarchist. And it's a version of socialism that was soon eclipsed by Marxism and central planning. And, when we say mutualism in terms of the economy, I guess that would suggest to me that we want to encourage, anarchy in our commercial district, which obviously is not a very reasonable interpretation. So I think that's very much a concern that this could have many meanings, perhaps in a meaning in architecture. And also, even if we have this beneficial to everyone, we just need to be careful about thinking about that in terms of, when a new restaurant comes onto Folly Road, is that really completely beneficial to the existing restaurants on Folly Road that are competing with them? And so if we say that our plan is that all development will be mutually beneficial, it seems a little unrealistic. It sounds good, and I think having a vibrant community with new businesses enter, even if they compete with each other, is beneficial to the community as a whole, but it's not always beneficial to each and every person. And so I just don't think that's a useful way to describe it. So is there anyone who would like, so what we're doing is we're going to be approving changes in our plan. Is there anyone who would like to would move to make this change to include mutualistic in the plan?
Given it has so many different meanings, it might not be specific enough for our plan, and it might not be bad to consider going back to just positive. The way it was
I
before.
agree. I agree.
Let's see if I can share something to you, some language, particularly for the goal itself. Let's see if we can. I can't show that. Okay, thank you. So in terms of the goal, it seemed to me that the current language is, was just a little bit, in my view, redundant. I don't want to be too picky, but encourage mutualistic redevelopment and use this redevelopment. It seems like redevelopment is hit in there twice. And are we sharing this language? I just think encourage redevelopment to improve current aesthetics and diversity of amenities in the town's commercial areas. I'm not even sure we need to say positive. I mean,
Mayor, were you going to share something?
I thought I did share something.
No, you haven't.
Okay, thank you. Let's see if I can do that. You think I do this all day, every day, or during class, I would figure out how to do this, but now y'all know I'm not very good at doing it in class either. There you go. Just encourage redevelopment to improve current aesthetics and diversity of amenities in the town's commercial areas. And that we really don't need to say it's mutualistic or even positive. If we describe what the development would be, and it's hard to see how diversity of amenities and improve current aesthetics would be anything but positive. Is there, I move that we make this change in the document. Is there a second?
Second it.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I like the idea because it'll maybe keep us from getting another car wash. So that would be good.
Okay. So let's go ahead and vote on this change. Would you call the roll?
Councilman Bowles,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mignano,
Yes.
Councilman Mullinex. I'm sorry,
Yes.
Councilman Milliken,
Yes, got them both.
and Mayor Woolsey.
Yes. On page 7, so I guess do I need to stop sharing?
No, excuse me, Mayor, I've just got a point. Mayor,
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
I have a
Councilman Milliken.
We didn't vote on the editorial change on the land use element about ecosystem services.
Well, okay, I wanted to go, but let's go, if you will forgive me, can we go forward? And I just wanted to mention on the goal is mentioned again in the section of the plan on economic development. But there's another section where mutualistic is also mentioned, and it's on page 7, I believe. So I actually have the hard copy here before me, and I'm having trouble finding page 7. I'd surely have it someplace where I won't lose it, but now I've lost it. So you found page 7?
Yes, it is on page 7.
Zach, yeah, it's page
It's
7.
the page right. It's the page right after the map, Mayor.
Yeah, I think we can just, in my opinion, if we
Right
just drop that, I don't think that sentence is really necessary, even though it's, it's not bad, except for that it has mutualistic in it. But we already cover this in other parts. So this is the land use element background and inventory of existing conditions. So it's supposed to be like what we have. And, it's not really about what we want, I don't think. Is that correct? Kristen, would you speak to that?
Yes, so this little section right here is supposed to be kind of a summary of what is existing right now, and that is a new sentence. So, yes.
So the first part that, to stating that our commercial uses are diverse, which I think is true, is appropriate. But after that, and then what we should do, not that I disagree, we shouldn't have diverse and a good commercial district, but I think that part we should strike that in the spirit of the change we made. Is there a second?
Are you suggesting, Mayor, just to drop and mutualistic from the sentence?
I was actually after the first and. So the existing commercial uses in the town's boundary are diverse in nature, period.
Uh-huh.
And then we just don't talk about what the town should do. We will talk about that later.
All right.
Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, any further discussion of that change? All right, hearing none, would you call the roll, Francis?
Councilman Bowles,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mignano,
Yes.
Councilman Milliken,
Yes.
Councilman Mullinax,
Yes.
Mayor Woolsey.
Yes. Okay, so the change in the language for the goal appears in 2 places, and so I don't think we need to vote to change it in both places. And then that's the only change I saw. The
Page 8, Mayor.
now, so
Page 8,
Councilman
Mayor.
Milliken, you want to work on the services, the
Mayor, I don't want you to miss a mutualistic here on page 8.
Okay.
There's one on page 8. I think you got to get it.
Okay. I
It's
missed it.
under community commercial.
Yes, I move that we just drop both diverse and mutualistic. And that in this case,
I'd like to keep diverse and just
Okay.
drop and mutualistic.
okay, I move that we drop diverse. Is there a second? Diverse and leave mutual, excuse me, we don't drop diverse. I'm sorry. I move that we drop and mutualistic and leave diverse as you see.
Second,
Is there a second?
second.
Okay. Is there any discussion of that? Hearing none, would you please call the roll? Francis?
Councilman Bowles,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mignano,
Yes.
Councilman Milliken,
Yes.
Councilman Mullinax,
Yes.
Mayor Woolsey.
Yes. All right, so I thank you very much for forbearing, Councilman Milliken. We need to get back to the system services, is that correct? And
True.
you want to drop services.
And it appears quite frequently throughout the document. So rather than going through
I
every
think we should
page
vote every time.
and voting, I would like to make a blanket agreement that we drop services and preserve ecosystem, with the possibility of, if ecosystem is plural, an S may be added. In other words, make it grammatically fit.
So I'll take that as a motion that we remove services and make appropriate editorial changes, and this will come back to us for second reading, and we can look at it then. So that, okay, so is there, and I second Councilman Milliken's motion. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Francis, would you call the roll?
Councilman Bowles,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mignano,
Yes.
Councilman Milliken,
Yes.
Councilman Mullinax,
Yes.
Mayor Woolsey.
Yes. Is there, I would like to move to the housing, I guess it's the housing section. Could we get that, move down to that? Housing
That's-
element, yeah.
Yeah, that's page 30.
And, you know, I'm more interested, I believe, I hope I'm not looking in the wrong spot, but I believe that we have goals and a proposal for promoting affordable housing. That I did, so I was wrong. Where is that? Is that not?
That's up towards the front, I think, maybe.
So we have a section, and I apologize that I don't know where it is.
Are you talking about what I have highlighted right here, Mayor?
Yes, I'm sorry, it's right here, yes. So affordable housing opportunities should be utilized, such as promoting density bonuses for quality, affordable housing lenders and builders. I just would like to, you know, what I suppose, and I will ask, I would ask Kristen, the planning director, to explain this.
Well, right now we have an affordable housing clause in our ordinance that allows for 4 units per acre for this, and it doesn't really speak much more than this. And we just felt like nobody's utilized that since I've been here, used that clause to build any affordable housing. And so I guess I was thinking we should probably promote that a little better. I don't know if our density bonus should be a little higher than 4 units per acre, or somehow make it where it's easier for us to get some affordable housing on James Island using this as a guide.
Well, one way, you know, so I would suggest that we already have, as part of our zoning ordinance, a program consistent with this goal or this strategy, and this would just put it in the comprehensive plan. So our existing program is not currently in the plan, right? And this would just put it in the plan. But you believe that we should promote it better. But how we promote it, or whether we change the densities or anything we do, would be a change in the Zeldar, not this. This just is putting in the comprehensive plan something we already do. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any other discussion on this matter? Okay, hearing none. Is there any other discussion?
Yes.
Yeah, Councilman Milliken, I heard you first.
Yeah, and chapter 3.3, the natural resources element. I thought, you know, and a lot of this stuff came in later, Kristen, about having, you know, we have a tree council, we're doing a tree survey. We're going to be adding to some of the data that we might be able to include in this element. But I thought that under vegetation, you could maybe make mention of our commitment to planting trees and caring for trees as part of what we do. Because I think that's important. That's an important part of the natural resources element. And it really does kind of highlight something that James Island does. I have no language to offer you, but I think that that might be something worthwhile to include.
So I think that that's a good point, Councilman Milliken, and but we would need to send that back to the Planning Commission. Is that correct, Kristen?
Yes, probably. Maybe we could add it under number 5 on natural resources.
Yes.
So what we'd have to do is develop new language. It would go to the Planning Commission. Would you please, what? Oh, okay, go ahead, nothing.
Wouldn't this go to Planning Commission anyway with our changes as part of the process? Because anytime council has made changes, they've gone back to Planning Commission for approval.
Well, we'll look at that. I'll look at it, and
I think that's
could be challenge, but not necessarily. It depends. So, for example, they propose we add mutualistic, and we say no. Then I have to go back to them. They say ecosystem. They've added ecosystems, but we don't like services unless that substantially changes, what they said. I would say no. It doesn't have to go back. If we add, a section explaining what we're doing with the tree, with promoting, the forest and what we're doing with trees, that would be sort of a completely new language, and probably would need to go back. But anyway, I wanted to go back to up to more of the vegetation section where we were talking about that we sort of just scrolled down.
What page are you on?
On page
16.
16.
So I am a little troubled by this vegetation language. It starts off great, tidal waterways, and then we get to the region also contains extensive freshwater swamp areas. Deep water swamps support bald cypress, tupelo forest types, while the shallower swamps support willow, blackberry, elm, ash, maple, red gum, oak, and alder birch forests.
Where are those swamps?
Yeah, exactly. This is referring to Charleston County, not James Island.
Right.
Then it says drier areas support primarily loblolly pine forests, though longleaf and other pine varieties are common. Where's that on James Island? Nowhere. So basically, my understanding of our natural forest on James Island is it's a maritime forest, and it's laurel oak and other things, but it's just not the upland pine forest in the other parts of the county, like in the Francis Marion National Forest, or the large freshwater swamps we have in other parts of our county. And I just think we should stick to what's on James Island. These aren't, well, anyway, just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, I think that's worthwhile of consideration.
And I would add that is if we are going to add language about what we're doing with the Tree Council and promoting trees throughout James Island, street trees and so on, that we make those revisions. So the one part we can pass this and move forward and have this revision, and then make further revisions later. I mean, at subsequent meetings. I guess it doesn't matter. But what would you like to say? Well, I'll ask Kristen. What do you think is a better approach? So I think that I guess we need to go to a vote. Do we want to amend the, Councilman Milliken, would you like to make a motion about amending the natural resource section to include information about the tree council and the tree inventory? And
Yes, I will make that motion that we amend the vegetation section on page 16 to update it with the real information about the types of vegetation and types of ecological zones that we have here on James Island, and include information about our tree council somewhere in the natural resources element. And it could be a goal of the element that we actually come up with a tree census to really get at the types of trees and the species of trees that we have in our public spaces on the island. So I guess that's my motion.
is there a second?
I second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, hearing none, would you please call the roll?
Councilman Bowles,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mignano,
Yes.
Councilman Milliken,
Yes.
Councilman Mullinax,
Yes.
Mayor Woolsey.
Yes. Any further discussion?
Yes.
Councilman I'm sorry, did somebody, I'll get to you, Councilman Milliken. Anybody else? Okay, Councilman Milliken, go ahead.
Yeah, I have just one other thing to really, that I wanted to address here, and it's on page 51. So we get to go far ahead, almost to the end. But it's under the goals of Parks and Recreation Services. And we've had a number of people come to us and lament the fact that we don't have very many recreational programs or services for youth on James Island. And I was thinking that that would be a nice goal to add under Parks and Recreation Services. Something similar to CF8, but call it CF9. And say, explore opportunities to create and maintain more active recreational facilities and programs for the youth of James Island. So in other words, really target youth of James Island with some of these ideas and make that a very steadfast goal.
So I take that as a motion to add that language. Is there a second?
Yes.
I second it.
Any discussion? All right, hearing none, would you please call the roll?
Councilman Bowles,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mignano,
Yes.
Councilman Milliken,
Yes.
Councilman Mullinax,
Yes.
Mayor Woolsey.
Yes. Okay, any further discussion?
Yeah, one other thing to consider moving forward. One of the other types of subsections, Kristen and the planning crew have done a great job of meeting all the basic requirements that are required in coming up with a comprehensive plan. But what I was thinking, it would be maybe useful to include an energy element to this. We passed the climate resolution, and I just think that as a next step towards doing what we would want to do with that, we should probably have some mechanism of evaluating some of our policies and procedures and practices that the town does. So perhaps consider maybe not this iteration of the plan, but in 5 years when we revisit it, adding an energy element to it so that we can see how we're doing with respect to our climate resolution.
So Councilman Milliken, I'll take that as a suggestion that to our planning director that they work towards a energy
element,
for the rewrite in 5 years.
Exactly.
Okay.
And to perhaps even consider as the population elements come in and they update this iteration of the comprehensive plan.
Okay. Any other discussion? I believe that we can come to vote, and we will approve the changes that we have made. However, I believe that the changes in the natural resource element that we have instructed them to do, those, that's just too vague for that to be approved. But, we will, the rest of it would be approved as amended. Any further discussion? Hearing none, would you call the roll, Francis?
Councilman Bowles,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mignano,
Yes.
Councilman Milliken,
Yes.
Councilman Molinax,
Yes.
Mayor Woolsey.
Yes. And so that passes. Now, let's see, I think after all of this confusion, I have lost my agenda. But as, can you help me out, Ashley? Are we done?
Yes.
So
If there's not any new
right now,
business.
of course, we have our final comments and or announcements for each member of council. And so Councilman Bowles, did you have any comments or announcements?
Thank you all for being here. Everybody be safe, be well.
Thank you. Councilwoman Mignano.
No, just
Mignano.
thank you for all of your hard work, everybody.
Councilman Milliken.
Thanks to everybody, and I'm looking forward to, with great optimism, the rest of 2021 and onward. Thank you all.
And Councilman Mullinex.
Just wanted to thank everybody for their support of Lighthouse Point and its long-going efforts for its residents. And again, thank you.
Thank you. Well, one thing that we didn't really discuss, we repassed the face mask ordinance, but I've been every week been getting information about the current COVID cases on James Island. During the summer, and we were getting them basically daily, but they've really slowed down. They only come once a week. But anyway, the most recent figure was 326, which is close to the peak from July. And so that's 329, 4112, all of James Island is where those figures are from. And those are people that tested positive that claim residency here on James Island. And I just would urge everyone here and all the people in the community to practice social distancing, wear masks when that is difficult. It's, we believe that all the evidence is that the key spread is people basically sharing breath, talking to each other, being too close. And so try to stay apart, and that we should get vaccinated as soon as we can. And, all of our residents over 70 are now eligible, as well as our healthcare workers. And so please get your vaccination when you can. Thank you. Good night.